A poor black cleaning woman did something no one expected. She told a billionaire CEO that his closest friend was cheating him. She wasn't supposed to hear it. She wasn't supposed to speak. But one night, as she swept the polished floors of his empire, she overheard words that would shatter his world. The next day, something shocking happened. His fortune, his trust, even his pride began to crumble. And the woman no one noticed, the one in a simple blue uniform and worn shoes, became the only voice of truth. This is the story of a warning ignored and the price of arrogance. Her name was Danielle. She was 29, a black woman who worked the night shift as a cleaner in one of the tallest towers in the city. Every evening, while the powerful went home to mansions and penthouses, Danielle stepped quietly into their world of marble floors, brass railings and glass walls that glittered with wealth. She had grown used to being invisible. Executives brushed past her without a glance. Assistants walked by as if she didn't exist. To them, she was just the woman who emptied their bins and polished their desks. But Danielle noticed things others didn't. She saw nervous glances, exchanged in hallways, heard snatches of phone calls while collecting trash, and learned how to read the silence of a room. At the very top of the tower was Mr. Whitman, the billionaire CEO. His name was on the building, his face on magazine covers. People called him a genius, a visionary. But to Danielle, he was just another man who never once looked at the cleaner mopping his floor. Always at his side was Richard, his lifelong friend. He wasn't part of the company, but everyone knew he had influence. Too much influence. Danielle had seen his kind before, charming, smiling, but dangerous. And one night, her suspicions became reality. It was close to midnight when Danielle wheeled her cart onto the executive floor. The offices were usually silent at that hour, but tonight she heard laughter drifting from the boardroom. Inside, Whitman and Richard sat across from each other with glasses of scotch. Danielle kept her head down, moving quietly as always, but their voices carried. "You're too trusting, Charles," Richard said, his tone sharp beneath the laughter. "Everything you've built, one wrong move and it's gone." Whitman smirked. "Not with you around. You're my brother. I'd never doubt you." Richard leaned closer, his smile tightening. "Imagine if you were wrong. Imagine if I could pull the rug out from under you. Imagine if I already had investors lined up, waiting for me to make a single call." For a moment's silence. Then Richard chuckled, brushing it off as a joke. But Danielle had heard enough. That wasn't a joke. That was a threat dressed in humor. Her pulse quickened. She had stumbled onto something dangerous. That night, she lay awake in her small apartment, replaying the conversation. She knew what she should do. Stay quiet. She was just a cleaner. Who would believe her? But the thought gnawed at her. If she said nothing, and the man lost everything, wouldn't she be guilty too? The next evening, fate gave her the chance. Whitman walked through the lobby, surrounded by his assistants. Danielle's throat tightened, but she stepped forward. "Sir," her voice trembled, "forgive me, but your friend Richard, he isn't loyal. I overheard him. He's planning something against you. Please, be careful." The entire lobby went silent. All eyes turned to her. Whitman froze, then forced a laugh. "A cleaner giving me advice about billion-dollar friendships?" he said softly. "Don't worry about things you don't understand. Just keep doing your job." Laughter rippled through the group as they walked away, leaving Danielle standing there, humiliated. Her face burned, but she felt a strange relief. At least she had spoken the truth. The very next day, the storm hit. Stocks plummeted. Investors pulled out. Rumors of betrayal spread like wildfire. The company's empire shook to its core. Whitman stormed into the boardroom to confront Richard, only to find him calm, collected, smiling. "You didn't believe me when I told you how easy it would be," Richard said coolly. "One call, Charles. That's all it took." Whitman's face went pale. The empire he had built over decades was collapsing in hours. Richard had betrayed him, orchestrating every move with ruthless precision. And in the chaos, Whitman remembered the trembling voice in the lobby, the cleaner he had laughed off. Danielle had seen what he could not. He had ignored her, and now it was too late. Within weeks, the empire was gone. Richard disappeared overseas with millions. Whitman salvaged fragments of his fortune. But his reputation, his pride, his company, all of it lay in ruins. One night, long after the headlines had faded, Whitman returned quietly to the skyscraper that still bore his name. The building was silent, empty. On the ground floor, Danielle pushed her mop across the marble tiles. For the first time, Whitman approached her with no entourage, no arrogance. "You were right," he said quietly. "I should have listened." Danielle met his eyes. She wasn't smug. She wasn't bitter. Just weary. "People like me see things," she said softly. "We're invisible, but we notice. No one listens, not until it's too late." She turned back to her work, leaving Whitman standing alone in the lobby, burdened by the weight of his failure. The story spread, whispered from one worker to another. Some called it a scandal of money and betrayal, but others saw the deeper truth. Wisdom doesn't always come from those in power. Sometimes it comes from the person sweeping the floor, the one you never thought to notice. And so Danielle remained unseen by most. But to those who knew the story, she was a reminder that ignoring a quiet voice can cost everything. Because sometimes the most valuable warnings don't come from boardrooms or corner offices, they come from the shadows you refuse to see.